Hi, and welcome to today's episode. We have an interesting guest who has an interesting journey that she was going to share with us. So, ahead of us, we will be talking and learning about something new and exciting. Today, we have Lisa Tighe with us. She helps women overcome life-changing obstacles to menopause, sickness, illness, redundancy, grief, loss, and relationship breakdown. She mixes together EFT tapping, NLP techniques, and coaching to help her clients find purpose and action and some peace and happiness in their lives. So today will be an interesting conversation where we'll talk about anything and everything related to change, growth, and finding purpose and living on purpose. I can't wait. But before we get into that, hi, Lisa, welcome. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, who you are, and what it is that you do. I know that you will do it more justice than I did in the short intro.
So I am a energy therapist and coach. I practice EFT tapping. It's emotional freedom technique for some that may not know what it is. And I forget people don't know what it is a lot of the time because I use it all the time. So it's kind of been a part of me now, but I realize that many people don't realize what it is. So yeah, I help women, mainly women, overcome emotional obstacles, life-changing obstacles, in the best way that they can. So these life-changing obstacles are just things, that saying that everyone has that, well, life gets in the way, Well, it does, but it shouldn't. It's life happens, and we have to find the best way to get over, um, work through these things that happen in life. So I kind of work with women to help them emotionally, but also find the best way forward so they can still live the best life that they want, even though these things may have happened or be happening. So that's kind of what I do in a nutshell. And I use coaching strategies, techniques. I'm a master practitioner of NLP, so I do a lot of work around language and beliefs. And I throw in some energy therapy as well to help people move forward and to really go as deep as we can to get those changes. Yeah, and I absolutely love it.
I'm curious to know, how did you actually get into it? Because everyone has a slightly different
Yeah.
journey of getting on this, healing, holistic exploration journey. So what was it for you that really inspired you to, has this been your career, since you can remember? This is your first ever career. You just started in there from, from kindergarten, let's say, from
Yeah.
high school, from university, or have you made some, career changes and turns on the way?
So I never actually knew what I wanted to do when I left school at all. I had no clue. I suppose I was in that stage of just surviving, just making sure that every day I was getting through each day. So when I left school, I just went into college and just did like a business course. I had no aspirations to do anything. I just knew I wanted to maybe see the world and party hard and just do whatever. So I've had loads of different jobs. So I've worked at Pizza Hut. I've worked as in the Crown Court as a listing officer. I've been an overseas holiday rep. I've had loads of different admin jobs. And then I had my children and I found a job at the local council, and that was in the exclusion team. So I worked in admin with the team that supported permanently excluded students who were not allowed back into school because of behaviour or learning problems. And we had some training, just some training for the whole team, which was amazing. And that was NLP training. It was an introduction to NLP. And my boss saw something in me. I found it absolutely fascinating. And I started to realize this could not only help me with my job, but this is actually helping me as a person. And the questions that I was being asked and talking about beliefs and how you live your life through these beliefs that we create when we're tiny, and how they play out in our lives. that started to really make me think, oh my goodness, what, maybe I could change some stuff. So I fell into NLP. That was my first kind of area of learning, really, through that job with the council, which I was there for 15 years. I loved that job. And from that job, I got my own little caseload of students, and I started working one-to-one. And then it kind of snowballed from there, because I was getting such good results with the students that I thought, hang on a minute, this is really helping me personally. Could I help other people? And I had no idea about business or how to set anything up. I just sat in the pub one night with some people on a training course and decided to set up my little business. And that was it, just through a want of a nice bottle of red and some good people around me. And just, why not? Why can't you do that? I've got these skills. I love talking. And I really have this urge to help people similar to maybe how I was. So why shouldn't I? So it started off from there. Then I started to learn a little bit more about your intuition, and I've always been very, very emotional. I feel quite deeply. I've always been quite a big energy as well. So I can walk into a room and sort of make or break it. Sometimes people have said, just by how I'm thinking and feeling. And I thought, well, what's all this tapping about? So I heard about EFT tapping and took that into my next kind of bit of learning, and that really made things even more exciting, even more interesting, and the results that I was starting to get with people were bigger, more life-changing, and they lasted for longer. They weren't just like a quick fix. We were really doing some work that was pretty well, it was pretty life-changing. So that's kind of how it started. And I suppose where I am now with it all, I left that job from the council a couple of years ago. I am full-time in the business. It's took on lots of different kind of I've done workshops and I've done one-to-ones, and it's just gone in lots of different directions. I now do retreats, but it's always kind of looking at how to change what you've got into what you want. and the skills that I've got, I find it really useful. I find they work for me, and the people that are drawn to me don't want psychology, I suppose. They don't want the science-based stuff. They want kind of the feelings, and that works brilliantly. So that's kind of where I've came from, and where I am now, I suppose, a little bit.
And you really said it clearly. It's how to change, because we often know what we should be doing. Like when you touched on, maybe people don't want the science. It's like, we don't need the science to know what is good for us, or maybe what we want. We want to be healthier. We want to change our careers. We want to overcome challenges. We kind of, rationally, consciously, logically, we can understand what we want and what we need to do to get these things. We understand what changes need to happen. But to make change happen, that's the trick, is to rewire our brain, change our habits, start doing the things we need to be doing to have the things we want, to embrace the change, to take the first leap and to continue taking steps. So I'm very curious, what have you learned on your journey of helping people have these life-changing transformation moments? What have you learned about change, and why is change so tricky? And do you have any secrets that you could share with us that help people to make change maybe a bit more easier and hopefully to make it stick more?
That's a great question. So personally, I think change, the actual identifying the change and realizing that it might be good to change, isn't the tricky bit. I've never found that tricky for myself or with people I work with. It's the keeping it up. It's the work that you need to do afterwards to stay in that change. So what have I learned from it? And well, everything, I think. So I suppose for many years I just, as I've said before, I was just surviving. You know, one day I wasn't really thinking, this is good for me, or this feels good. I was just like, well, this is what I do. And I think a lot of us get into that kind of rut of, well, it's just me. I can't do anything. It's just how I am. But actually, if you look at what you haven't got and what you actually want, and look at the reasons why you haven't got it, you can then understand maybe where the change needs to be. So I learned quite quickly in that very first NLP course that I was introduced to over 10 years ago now, I think it was, in a little room with this fantastic trainer and my team that I was working with, that through really good questioning, through feeling kind of safe as well with who you're with, that if you're asked some really good questions about your life and your mind and your behaviors, then, and you trust yourself and you just take a few minutes to really allow whatever wants to come out of your head to come out, you can create that moment of change. And that moment of change for me was when my trainer was asking, and I can't remember exactly why or what the subject was, but I just remember standing, taking a few breaths while he asked me some questions around my childhood and why I felt the way I did. And I remember just having my eyes closed. I mean, I could even do it now, and he said, but you know, something around that moment. And I just said, because I don't like myself. And in that moment, like, I was like 30 something years old, you know, I'd never thought, oh my God, I've done all these things because I don't like myself. You don't think like that, you know? And I thought, but I don't. And it was just that, I mean, I've got all goosepimply thinking about it again, because every time I think of it, that was a life-changing moment. Now, that wasn't the difficult bit. That was quite easy. You know, he had the right questions to ask me, which put me into that state of thinking, which I was able to then realize that that was one of the reasons why I did what I did. But it was the moving forward that I found really hard, because although I wanted to change my behaviors and to get a better life, to sustain it was really, really difficult. Really difficult. And that's why I wanted to take on the coaching aspect, because it's all fair and well having this therapy and helping people to, you know, to become whoever they want to be. But if you haven't got someone to hold your hand for the next few months, years, whatever it is, they can be a bit lost. And it can feel a bit unpurposeful, really, because, you know, you want all this change, but actually, you know, you might need someone to help you show the way forward a little bit more. So I learned that that was important, really important, in fact, almost as important as understanding what needs to change within you. And that's kind of what I try and help my people to do, is just to think and feel a little bit deeper and just a little bit, ask the right questions, get the right questions so that they can feel different, and then hold their hand to move forward.
It very much sounds like is helping people become aware of something. So like you said, you didn't go around thinking, I don't like myself, this is why I'm doing all this stuff. And so often we have these beliefs about ourselves that might not be conscious because of something that's happened in our childhood or schooling years or whatever it is, that are not a conscious idea or thought, but they play very much in the subconscious. And of course, we're doing things around it. And it's helping people become aware of these subconscious feelings or ideas or thoughts that they are having. And then it's creating that change or those new habits or new routines or whatever it is that's needed to come out of that. But not only creating that, but it's also about helping them shift the way they're thinking and shift the way that they see themselves. Because it's, you mentioned it earlier, you know, oh, things happen because I am who I am, or that, you know, nothing nothing will change because I am the way I am. I was born like this. This is the way things always are and will always be. But that's not true, though. You know, we can change it. It's not just this is the way I am, this is the way you are right now, but how do you want to be in the future? So it sounds like you very much are there at that moment to help them to get a clearer understanding and become more aware of what it actually is that's going on deep down. And then the scary bit is creating the changes and putting new things in place or new beliefs, because some of us have had these beliefs for so many years that are part of us, you know, and we have to give them up. And it's like, so I can see why you've gone into the coaching, into being there as a support, because like you say, it's, I don't believe in myself, or I don't like myself. Now, what do you do with that?
Yeah.
So it sounds like that's sort of where you help people then to take that and do something with it, instead of just sitting with it and then feeling stuck.
Yeah. And what's also come from when you've just been talking there, what's come into my head is I was trained with in tapping, with EFT tapping, by Carl Dawson, who is one of the founding masters of tapping. There's only 20 in the world, and he's absolutely phenomenal. And when I trained in that area, what I found was the situations the events that happen in our lives, yes, they're important. Yes, they can shape and make us and all of that. But that's not the thing. It's in those moments of time when things happen, it's what we make things mean. So in a moment of time in my childhood, I made something mean that I didn't like myself in that one moment. Now, when I've explored that moment, because I know exactly which moment it is, looking back, I'm like, well, that's ridiculous. Why would I even think that? Well, I was 4, I was tiny, you know, why wouldn't I think that? But it's what we do with it then, it's what you do with it after that that's important. So what I try and sort of teach people is, yes, this has happened and you can't change it. You can't change what's happened, but you can change what you make it mean. And these beliefs are so entrenched in us, aren't they? You know, because when we are little, we do believe everything everyone tells us. And it's really hard to think about letting those go, because then who are we? And that can be a bit scary. And that's kind of what I work with as well. Like, who am I without this big belief of not liking myself? What am I going to do if I stop drinking? And it's, because all I've done is drink and and that doesn't feel very safe to stop drinking, because who am I going to be then? Because I always made it mean that I wasn't good enough to do anything else, so I'm going to drink. And it's all of that, but it is possible. And it all sounds a bit like cheesy and a bit of a cliche when I say it like that, but it's really, really powerful stuff when you're working with someone and they realize that they made something mean, something as big as, I don't like myself, I'm not good, I'm a bad person. That comes up a lot. And therefore they live their whole life like that. And it can change, and it's just having those right questions and those really good questioning, and just holding that time and space for that person, and the trust as well. I mean, most of my clients become friends of mine, because you've got to have that trust. And I talk to a lot of coaches and other people in the world that I work in, my little world. And there a lot of people are saying, well, that's not very professional. They shouldn't become friends. Oh my goodness, when you're entering into someone's world, wow, you're going to have a connection. So, yeah, it's what you make things mean that's the important thing.
And you use something that we often talk about, and it's that shoulding. It's you shouldn't become friends, but who says so? Just because they're coaches, it doesn't mean that that's real. So I just wanted to mention that, because our listeners might point out that, oh yes, all that shoulding. So it goes back to what somebody says you shouldn't, but why shouldn't you? And what is wrong with you being friends with your clients? And if that's a road that they want to go down, it's also their choice. I doubt you've got a gun to their head and you will be friends with me now. We work together. it's not about that. It's about building a relationship, and you can, take it from a coaching client relationship to a friendship relationship, because they have changed and you've been part of that journey. And as you said, you've built that trust, you've built that rapport. And I love how you said that it doesn't matter what these coaches are saying that you shouldn't or should be doing. It's following your own heart. It's following what's right for you and what's right for the people and the clients who choose to then become friends and go down this different route. So I just wanted to point that out and just say, it's really nice that you finding what works for you and not listening to the experts in what you should and shouldn't be doing as a coach, moving down the line. So thank you for that, because that's a little bit of more life in one's life, and following your own, I guess, your own heart, which you're all about, is all about the emotions and all about feeling and following where that's taking you. So it's you are, what was the saying? You are walking your walk and talking your talk. Isn't that what it is? It's
Yeah, I hear that a lot. Yeah, I like that. And all these shoulds and shouldn'ts. It's really interesting actually, because this year I've started a small group that we meet every fortnight, and we look at, or they look at with me as well, because I work through stuff with them for myself. We look at things that we want to achieve, whether it be intentions or goals, whatever you want to call them, things that we want to do, things that fill us with joy. And I do kind of like every now and again, I would do this Zoom call called Soulful Intentions, right? And that is about people coming on and deciding what they want to achieve, what they want to work through in those few months with me. Now, I set it up because what I was fed up with was people just jumping on the bandwagon of, oh, I'm going to lose weight because my friend's losing weight. I'm going to drink loads of water because it says in this book that that's what I need to do. Right, I'm going to buy this car because that means, and it's all about what we make things mean, isn't it, again? And really, a lot of people were like just doing things, not achieving them, and then feeling bad. And they weren't even happy about what they were trying to achieve. It was someone else's dream, someone else's thought. And I was like, this is no good. What about we look at what really brings us joy? What is going to fill us up? What are we going to feel really good about? And really tapping into that and then working towards it, because it's so much easier. Because when you look at why you want to achieve something, set an intention around it, and it means something to you, not just because you've heard it in a book or something like that. It's because it means something to you. It's just so much easier. And it is all this shoulds and shouldn'ts. And I'm not saying that not drinking, obviously we've all got to drink water. It's a great thing to drink water, but it doesn't have to be the thing that you set out to do that fills you with joy. Why do you need to lose loads of weight? But why? And looking at the why, and if it isn't really aligned to you, well, let's change it a little bit. Let's find something that really is. And that's really interesting. You've mentioned that about your listeners, about the shoulds and the shouldn'ts. We get caught up in that so much, and it can lead to like a lot of unhappiness, really, setting ourselves up to fail. And there's no need. If we just take a moment to think, is this really what I want? Is this really going to make me happy? Am I really going to set myself up for the next so many months working towards this if it means nothing to me, if it's just what I'm hearing? So yeah, it's a biggie for me as well, that these shoulds and shouldn'ts.
And I think this also goes to, finding the balance between having it all and kind of planning and strategizing and prioritizing, and almost figuring out a balance between being happy and satisfied as we are, kind of bringing in a bit more of the presence, bringing it a bit more of the perspective and awareness, and yet having this vision and working towards this vision and making change and going on this path. I find this dynamic always fascinating between being enough right now and being happy right now, and whatever is in the present, appreciating the present. versus still wanting to grow and wanting to improve and wanting to change, wanting to do whatever it is. How do you find this question of can we have it all? Can we ever be enough, all of it? Do you know what I mean? Kind of, can we ever feel like we're we're completely perfect, like there's nothing to improve, there's nothing on the journey, and yet still be satisfied right here, right now with like, that's okay.
Oh, I asked the question not long ago, actually, that exact question to my people. Can we really have it all? Like, is it even possible? And what does that even mean to you? Like, how do you even know if you've got it? How would we even know? That's the thing as well. Like, how do we know if we've got it all? And I had a real mixture of answers. And I work mainly with women, remember? So some were saying, well, no, you can't, because there's always someone saying you can't do that job and bring up children at the same time and be really good at them both. And you can't make loads of money and be really happy, or you can't have that relationship and have a really good job. But actually, it's not us that question that, it's everyone else that questions it. And it's their perception of what we are having it all, what that even means to us. So I always think there's little tweaks you can make here and there. And I check in on myself quite a lot because I'm an emotional person. Uh, everyone at home's like, oh, here she goes again. Everything's really deep. Well, that's how I am. I quite enjoy that side of it. I like being deep. I enjoy that. And I check in a lot on how I feel and how my life is. And if I feel like a little bit something I want to do, then I'll tap into that. Literally, I'll tap into it. I'll do my tapping and I will tap into it and look at what needs to happen. Where will I feel different? What's missing? What do I need to change? And sometimes there's nothing. Sometimes it's just me thinking, maybe I'm a bit bored. Am I a bit restless? And that's okay. So at that point, have I got it all? If I don't need to do anything and change anything, maybe I have got it all. But things change all the time, don't they? So from one minute to the next, you can feel like, yes, it's got it all going on. And the next minute, it's like, well, that's rubbish. Um, and I felt like that last week. I had a real tough week last week. Things have been really good. I've been eating really healthy, and I've been like, walking the dog every day and just enjoying every minute. My kids are older. I've been enjoying what they're doing. Um, you know, I'm working. I've booked a holiday. Things have been great. And then out the blue, I lose someone quite close to me, and all of that stuff just stops, and it just changes in a second. And there's that change again. You can have it all, but then things change and then you feel like it's been took away, but it hasn't. It's what you make it mean. Again, it's what you make it mean. And that's part of grief, isn't it? If things change that drastically in your life, like with grief, and you make it mean that means that I'll be sad for the rest of my life, or that means that I can never do that again, or that means this at XYZ, wherever it is, then you're creating these limiting beliefs straight away, aren't you? And I've noticed that I was doing it. I've been doing it all week. Since I found out, oh, now that this person's gone, that means that all this stuff's going to come up for me. It means that I'm going to find things really difficult. It means that no one's going to understand. Really? Does it? So yeah, having it all, you can have it all if you know what that means to you. And it's just going with the flow of change, isn't it?
And I love how you reframe it to the what do you make it mean? How do you see it? Because so rarely, like we don't have control in our lives over what other people do, what happens around us, what happens to us. We only have in control how we think, what we think, how we perceive things, how we work with our emotions. We can control ourselves. but that's it. We can't control anything beyond outside of us. And as you said, things will change, things will happen, people will do things. If we've been through a trauma, people will trigger us, or things and events will trigger us, and we may feel that, oh, I haven't made any progress. I'm still struggling with anxiety and depression, and I'm back to this spiral. I'm back to overthinking. I haven't progressed or anything. I haven't healed. I'm still the same person. We can go into our own little spiral. But I like how you brought in the perspective of we can learn to pause and learn to reframe and be like, what am I making it mean? Am I making this situation, this wobble, this experience I'm going through, am I making it mean something bad and negative and I'm taking myself back into the spiral? Or am I acknowledging that I'm still a human being? I will never be perfect, but I am growing and learning and noticing the good things. And I know that through the training that you had and the work that you do, that you actually definitely have a toolbox of things that people can tap in, literally tap in, talking about tapping, that they can help them when they see themselves spiraling, that they notice that something has triggered them. So could we look a bit more at kind of the toolbox that you've created and some of the modalities that you put in, and give people some tips and tricks and insights into when something like that happens, be it grief, be it trauma, be it any kind of a trigger, or just a bad day when you're just a bit too much in your head and you really need this reframe. Could we talk about some of the modalities, the techniques that you use with your clients and with yourself to then make the switch, move towards something a bit more helpful, a bit more productive, a bit more, impactful in the positive way?
Of course. So, as I mentioned earlier, I started out in NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. Didn't have a clue what that was when I first started, and quickly learned that it was a really good base for creating positive change, basically. And the belief side was the biggest thing for me. So all the language, all of the stuff that goes with it is fantastic. All of the strategies that you use and the techniques are amazing, and there's some amazing techniques in there. But you know what I've learned more than anything? It is more the conversational, and the talking about the beliefs. And it's not, I don't really use the techniques so much because I've kind of come away from that. I've kind of evolved, I suppose, and found my own way of working. And like I said before, a lot of my people will come to me because they're not the science-based people. They're the feelers, they're the ones that really feel something, and they're drawn to me because I feel so much as well. So the belief side of it in NLP is huge. Now I've worked with young people, teenagers for many years, and helping them understand what they believe that is not good for them, that is not serving them well, and creating a positive change around that is absolutely phenomenal. If you can do that for someone who like 14, 15, help them to realize that, is that true? Is that something? Even just noticing, if you can ask yourself, get into the habit of, if you're in a belief, if you think you believe something about yourself, is it even your own belief, or is it something that you've heard? Does someone keep telling you the same thing? I hear a lot, you're fat and ugly, you're thick, you know most of the time that is a belief that they've picked up from someone else, that they've been told. A young kid is not going to suddenly put that in their head. They've heard it. And so that side of the NLP has been really, really powerful for me as an adult, and for me working with young people, with working with anyone. So that's a good tip. Look at your beliefs. Look at what's not serving you well. Think about what you think about yourself and your life, and ask yourself, is this even my belief? Is this even mine? Where has it even come from? And be a bit of an investigator about it. Ask yourself questions, work through it. Ask people. I've asked my mum loads of stuff about my beliefs, my past. Where did I hear that, mum? What do you think about that? Did you ever think that? Just be curious, just ask them questions, and you'll find out so much. And it's so much easier to change it if it isn't working for you. That's a really good tip. Use that a lot. When I'm tapping with someone, I love this as well, because this can just change everything. So if someone, for example, comes to me and they say, can you help me with my anxiety? I need help with my anxiety. It's just driving me mad. I'm like, okay, fine. I don't worry too much about the anxiety side, because I always know there's something underneath that to work through that will help us. So if I'm tapping on and helping them, teaching them about tapping for anxiety, I do what I call follow the feeling. So while we're tapping, I get them to bring up safely that feeling that they get of anxiety, because that's what they want to help with. That's what they want to change. And it's when I ask them about the feeling, not events, not times when they've had it before, none of that. Just focus on that feeling. What do you feel? Where do you feel it in the body? And really hone in on that and follow that feeling to a time in the past. It might not even be linked to anxiety. It might be linked to something totally different. And that is where the work needs to be done. So following the feeling and not the anxiety or the thing that you come to have help with is amazing. And it's really interesting. It works really well with food as well. So I've been an emotional eater for years. I still do it every now and again. This week, with everything that's gone on, has been horrendous. I've just eaten anything that I see around. I'm like, because I'm emotional, and that's what I've always done. But I know that I'm not an emotional eater. It's just something I do when I'm feeling like that. But I work a lot with emotional eaters as well. And it's never the food. So when I help them when they talk to me about the feeling that they get when they get hungry, or they think they're getting hungry, and we actually tap on that feeling, often it's nothing to do with food. Well, I don't even think I've had a time where it's come up where it's something to do with food. Doesn't remind them of food. There isn't food in the past when you go back to that point. It's totally unrelated. And I'm literally back to, what do we make it mean? So it's about following, if you can follow that feeling and not get too hung up on the problem, the presenting problem that you're trying to solve, and allow yourself to follow that feeling, you will get to the point that needs the work. That's where the work needs to be.
It's almost like people come to you with the symptoms, but you're looking for the cause of those symptoms. I mean, this can happen in the body as well. I mean, we've had people talking about body. We've had, somebody who's talked about blood work and looking into that, and you can present with a sore throat or headaches or a sore toe or skin rashes. And it's not necessarily a skin rash, is not necessarily because of the soap that you use in the shower or to wash your clothes. It could be something very much unrelated. And I know I'm being a bit ridiculous here, but I mean, it could have stubbed your toe on something that's caused the skin rash. So you're not fixated or focused on the symptom, but actually looking at the cause of what it is. And this is so powerful, both, for the mental, emotional, the physical, is not relying on the symptoms to tell you what the problem is. These are just symptoms that have come out due to having to find a way, whether it's physically or subconsciously, find a way to deal with these causes that are either too much or just overwhelming, or you don't even know what they are. And like you said, the emotional eating is not about the food, but it's just, what is it that has created that symptom of emotional eating or something. So it's really interesting how you brought in with the emotions. That ties lovely with other guests that we've had who've talked about the physical and dealing with the symptoms and digging into the cause, because very much it's, and this is just me, my personal opinion and just me speaking, is quite often we just want to slap band-aids on stuff or take an antibiotic and just that you're fixed now. Here's a pill, here's a band-aid, go away. don't delve in it, don't think about it, you'll be fixed. But that's not how to help yourself, whether it's physical or mental or emotional. Is we are humans. We have our ups and downs, we have our good days, we have our bad days. We are this blob of water and fluid and bones and everything else, and we are impacted by so much. We impacted by just noises out there, we are impacted by our perceptions, our experiences, we are impacted by what's going on in the world, the news, everything else. And a lot of symptoms are coming out that a band-aid or pill is not going to help. And I love how you've really said that it's not about the eating, it's what's behind the eating. It's not about the anxiety, what's behind that. And I think that it's so powerful to really dig into what is the cause. And let's forget about the symptom, because that's just a symptom, but it's the cause that's creating a symptom, even a variety of symptoms that actually lead back to the same cause. So you've explained it really well. So thank you for that. It's
Thank you.
It's a nice way. So one of the things that we love to do is give our guests a space to share a last nugget or give us some tips, or is there something that we've not asked you about and you're sitting here thinking, I gotta say this is something I really need to share? Or is there something that you want to repeat? This is your space now to just share with us, with our listeners, a last little gold nugget, so to speak.
Oh, love it. Yeah. So I suppose just recapping or just saying again, follow the feeling and look at what things mean is massive. It's massive. But also, just one last little thing. I work a lot with women and also for myself. It's not just for, I work, women that come to me, there's always something that they're helping me with. That's why we're drawn together. That's what happens. So I work a lot on purpose and helping women find their purpose, or helping them find it again. Maybe they've had it and it's gone, because of life changes. Go back to the beginning when I started talking, these things, life happens, and, we have to find ways to get on with stuff and to live. And I always go back to finding your purpose and living more purposefully. If you can do that, happiness will just fill your life so much more, and you will be happy, because no one has ever said to me, I don't want to be happy. I've never heard that ever. We all want to be happy, and whatever that means to us. And having purpose, having whatever that is, it doesn't have to be deep. I'm quite a deep person, but having a purpose, just having a reason to be, a reason to get up and go. And finding that, whether that's something brand new or something that you've maybe hidden away or forgotten about, and just revisiting that can be absolutely life-changing, especially when you get to sort of age I am. I'm 49, I'm nearly 50, it's a big year next year. And I'm looking at revisiting things that are going to fill me with joy. Not because someone else is telling me to, or I've read it somewhere or whatever, because actually that's what I want to do. It's, because purpose changes. And my purpose for years was my kids. It gave me everything. It stopped me from self-sabotaging, and it put an end to a lot of the, damaging stuff in my life. And I put everything into that. And now they're older, I'm still going to be a good mum. I'm still going to, put them first. But actually, I want a bit of purpose, and finding a purpose that's right for me and for the people that I work with can absolutely change your whole life, and it can just make you feel full of happiness. Now, no one, like I said before, no one's ever said, oh, I don't want to be happy, and it's about reminding you that just to look for it, just to explore, investigate, identify, talk a little bit about what will fill you with joy and what you can find that would make your life feel more purposeful, and just taking small steps to do that every day can change your life. And that's kind of what I'm all about. You don't have to have a bad life. You can just do little things that will help you move forward and give you some happiness.
Well, wonderful, great nuggets. And I love how you say, you know, follow the feeling and really embrace the feeling and finding that purpose. And as you said, it doesn't have to be a big, huge thing. And it's not necessarily what the purpose should be, but what is it that you wanting? Because one person's purpose is not necessarily another person's purpose. Oh, there's a lot of P's in there. But it's about finding your purpose, and purpose doesn't need to be conquering the world. Purpose can just be something small, something just within your life. And I love how you've given that reminder as well as that permission to find that joy and create that happiness within yourself and within your life. So thank you so much for that. Those were wonderful, great, wonderful gold nuggets. So if our listeners are thinking, I need to connect with this woman, I want to be in her space, how can people find you?
So the first port of call really is my Purpose and Passion project. I set up a little group, and it is only a small group for women that want to reconnect with themselves and just to be happy. You know, who doesn't want to be happy? So there's a little Facebook group that I run, and it's the Purpose and Passion project. You can find me on there. I have a website, Lisa Tighe Therapy and Coaching. It does what it says on the tin. My services are on there. I offer one-to-ones. I offer small group workshops, online and in person. And I'm now running retreats. I've had 2 sold-out retreats last year, and I've got my next one running in Spain. And again, it's about bringing small groups of women together to discover their purpose and feel better. So you can find me Facebook on the Purpose and Passion project, and then Lisa Tighe Therapy and Coaching.
Thank you for that. And we will put all the links in the descriptions for our listeners to be able to find them. So thank you so much. This has been really an interesting conversation, and just is sometimes listening to ideas that we might know about, but having it from a different perspective is always a great reminder and a great sort of confirmation, I guess. So thank you so much. It's been wonderful. And for our listeners, what have you got from this? Do you embrace your feelings? Do you feel deep, as Lisa says? And do you really feel those emotions? And are you finding a purpose within your life and finding a way to bring more life into your life as well? So we would love to know your thoughts on just dealing with these emotions, because emotions can be very overwhelming and powerful sometimes, and we're not necessarily used to feeling our emotions, embracing them, and learning what to do with them. So I'd love to know your thoughts on feeling deep, finding that purpose, creating that happiness, and just your thoughts on this conversation that we have had today. And until next time, we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
If you enjoyed listening to our conversation, please share it with your friends and colleagues, and don't forget to subscribe. We would love it if you could give us a 5-star rating and write a short review.